Let's think first about how God has provided future deliverance. Future deliverance. Let's read verse 9 carefully. Again, this is a section that Queen Victoria was reading. She was raised in the Anglican Church. The 39 Articles of Faith deny the doctrine of assurance that you can know you're saved. That's just wrong. That's bad theology. And we have other Protestant denominations that do that, like the Nazarenes, most Methodists today, Free Will Baptists, and others. The Bible teaches you can be assured of your salvation, and that you can be eternally secure. And by the way, there are many passages you can use to affirm assurance and eternal security that we cover in the discovery class. And some are just direct statements. Then others, you can reason that it's impossible to say that you can lose your salvation based on what is said. So look how verse 9 begins. Let's step through this passage of Scripture. We read in verse 9, much more than, indicating that what is about to follow is even more astounding than what has just preceded, right? Much more than, having now been justified by his blood, we shall, notice it's future, we shall be saved from the wrath of God through him. Now, if you've noticed in both verses 9 and 10, he has spoken of a future dimension. We shall be saved. You say, I'm confused, Paul. You just said in 5:1 that I am saved. I've been justified. I have peace with God, that I stand forever in this new standing of grace. Now you're talking about me becoming saved. Are you mixed up, Paul? And Paul would say, no, I'm not mixed up. You're mixed up. With that smile on his face and that twinkle in his eye, he'd say, you're confused. Because understand, salvation is a big word. There's a past, a present, and future expression. And we'll see all three of these in Romans 5-8. We've been saved in the past from the penalty of sin. That's when you are justified. You are being saved right now in the present from the power of sin. We're going to learn how that unfolds in your life. And if you feel like you're in this cycle of always confessing the same sin, you don't want to miss a single message in this series because they all fit together like a beautiful puzzle. But that process of becoming in your experience what God has declared you to be in your position, that's called sanctification. And some glorious day, we shall be future saved from the very presence of sin. That's called glorification. And so if some brash evangelist comes up to you and he says, have you been saved? You could say, well, no, but yes. But not in that order. You'd say, yes, but no. Yes, I have been saved, and that I have been declared righteous, but no in the sense I will be saved and that I am waiting for the completion of my salvation. And of course, the argument in Romans 8 is that what God started, he absolutely will complete, that there's no leakage along the way. So we must recognize that salvation is a big word. It has a past, a present, and future dimension to it. Now, uninformed Christians sometimes will ask, but how secure am I in this relationship? I know I'm saved right now, but could I possibly in the future sever that relationship where God would change his attitude, where I'm no longer reconciled and I've once again become his enemy? Well, verses 9 and 10 provide an incredible argument. Don't miss it. Verse 9, much more than, having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath of God through him. I have been justified, not by my efforts, but how? By the spilt blood of Christ. That was the payment. So how can we be so sure that we shall be saved? Verse 10, for, here's the reason, if while we were enemies, we're reconciled to God through the death of his son. That is, if you've picked up on the adjectives, if while we're ungodly, helpless sinners, whom God viewed as his enemies, we are now reconciled, that is to say, we've become his friends. That's why we can know we're saved.